Blood Moon hordes in 7 Days to Die can be very tricky, especially for new people or very inexperienced people. And running around in the streets just trying to shoot all the zombies to death rarely actually works out unless you are just absolutely super high level, beast at the game, and have a tremendous amount of ammo, or absolutely just as lucky as could get. Most of us are not that way, and we need a horde base to run and hide to before we end up zombie food and dead for the night. So today I'm going to show you the top 3 Horde Base designs. These are all for beginners, so they're going to be the most simplistic versions of these bases. Most people end up using one form of this base or another. What I'm going to show you is the beginner version of it there, the most simplistic, easiest way to attain these sorts of bases. After that, you can take with it, combine them if you want to, make them your own, use your own aesthetics however you want to. I just want to show you the basic mechanics of what the most popular ones really are. So let's get to the first one. Alright, so the first base we're going to cover today is considered the bunker style base. This is the one you're going to basically surround yourself with a wall of some sort, and you're going to let the zombies come to you. It is a little bit dangerous because you do put yourself into a situation where you are surrounded and you kind of intentionally trap yourself. Most basic design is just a 5x5 of whatever block you want to make. I would highly recommend that you go with the strongest block that you can make. Wood will not last very long for the first horde night. Even a basic level horde can bust through wood. So if you can get to cobblestone, that's great. If you have the resources and you can get to concrete, that's even better. Late game, you're definitely going to want to go with steel or the hardest thing that you can possibly make, because it is definitely going to get wrecked the more zombies show up. So the basic concept is that you're going to be into a central walled-in area like this, and the zombies are going to run to you, and this will allow you to just melee attack them, or if you have enough ammo, you can start shooting away at them. That will allow you to be able to stay safe. They're not going to be able to get to you, but of course it does have its drawbacks. Now the easiest way to build it is, the normal way is just kind of make yourself a little 5x5, fix the walls around here so that you have a 1 block high window all the way around it. I would absolutely recommend not putting any form of door on the outside of it. If you put a door or a way for yourself to get in and out of the side of this place, what you're going to end up with is the zombies that can do the same thing. So what I would recommend to do is to put a way to get into it via the top. So you can put a ladder on the side so you can jump up and down if you need to, but the zombies can't reach it. So you want to fill in the top as much as humanly possible. Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, what happens if things go bad? And that is absolutely true. Most people, what they end up doing is just putting a hatch down here. So you can either do kind of like, if you put another block right there, you can put a hatch on here so that it's on top of the building like that. And then you have your ladder that you can put in on the opposite side of it. And so if things go absolutely terrible, you can jump up here, climb out the top, and you can escape to safety. That is kind of your escape route. Also, some people like to dig down, and they'll make a tunnel system go underground and have another area where they can pop out of and just put a hatch down there. So if things go terrible, then you are good to go to be able to get out. Because at some point, this base level base may take enough damage to where you are kind of screwed. And then once the Horde Moon actually shows up, you just make sure you're inside. I would highly recommend that you have a nail gun or a hammer to be able to repair as you go, and cobblestone, cement, whatever you built the base out of, have the extra resources so you can repair it as you go. Because once the zombies start showing up, they're going to start hitting on these lower level blocks or even the corner blocks first. Now this style of base is really good for the first couple horde nights. They can't get to you, but you can see they're going into destroy mode already. So what you can do is stand over here and just get some nice melee attacks in there. Or if you have the weapons, you can go through and just kind of mow some of them down. It is a really good way to get early experience because it's going to be all you doing all the killing. They're not going to have very many traps to have to deal with over here. They're not going to have some sort of automated system. This is going to be all you versus the zombies. The base just keeps them at bay so you can do what you need to do throughout the rest of the night. But this is a very good base for your first level horde nights, even your second one. After that, you will need to do some additional upgrades to it, or things will start going bad real quick with it. There's lots of ways you can take this simplified version and upgrade it to make it more efficient against the zombies here. You can make traps out front of it with basic wood spikes, or if you can upgrade them to steel spikes. That way they're still going to try and come straight for you while you're inside, but they'll take a little bit of damage before they can get to the base to start beating on it. One thing that some people like to do is they like to use wedge tips or small ramps and put spikes above the windows. That way the zombies don't hit the spikes specifically, but when they walk up on the ramps, it elevates them enough to hit the spikes, start doing bleeding damage, and it also puts them up at an area where you can do a lot of lower leg damage and hit them in the stomach. Only downside is that when you start getting spiders or zombies that can crawl really well or dogs, things like that, then they can get in the base a little bit easier because this is only considered about a half block for them to get inside. So while it does make it a little bit more entertaining because they'll run into the spikes over here, it does make it a little bit more challenging when you got things crawling inside because once something gets inside there, you don't have a whole lot of room to move. So as you can see, this particular kind of base works really good for low-level hordes when you're first kind of starting off. It's definitely one of the most recommended versions to get into because it will keep you safe the first few horde nights. As long as you have the supplies, the ammo, and the food to sustain yourself, this should hold you over. But let's get to the next build. The next style of base is considered the tower style base, and this is where you'll build yourself an elevated platform and surround it with bars or hatches or other things that you can shoot through, because these bars, you can shoot through it without doing any damage to the bars, whether it's with guns or with arrows. And by doing this, it allows you to stay to an elevated position when you're above the zombies. They come running in, wanting desperately to try and beat on the base, and we have Sid coming over here to help demonstrate. So he can't get to us, so the first thing he's going to do is go into beat mode. And so what he's going to do is just kind of roam right underneath. Eventually he'll start beating on the base, and you can be directly above him and shoot him from above. Makes it a lot easier to do this. Only downside, of course, is that if you don't build yourself some sort of structure over the top of it, then you have to deal with birds, or when you finally get cops showing up, then you're going to end up having to deal with them being able to vomit at you. You don't have a lot of protection up here. And spider zombies, the ones that can jump up to a certain height here. So you definitely want to make sure you have a way to be able to protect yourself while you're on top of this. But this is a kind of base style, the most basic level, of course, but the kind of base style that will last for a long, long time if you keep it upgraded. This one's completely made out of cement, but if you have the ability to upgrade it all the way to steel, you will do definitely better. My biggest advice when building this particular tower is to make sure that the interior core, as you're building it outwards, that it's nice and solid all the way throughout. See, this is cement all the way down to the ground, as well as the exterior walls. If you build the interior with weak walls, weak blocks inside here, then if the zombies do figure out how to get inside, which they will target the weak blocks, they'll try to bring your base down from inside. I've had a tower or two collapse as well from zombies being able to get inside of these external walls that are nice and reinforced. They get to the weak walls inside and just absolutely destroy it. Easy way to get up and down, just in case you happen to fall off or if you have to get down, is just leave one set of bars here open, put a ladder 2 blocks up, and you can jump up to it easily to be able to get back up to the top and go about your merry way of shooting things. A common way to defend yourself against airborne attackers is to build up a little column system in the corners here so you can still get around easily without having any blind sides there, and then to create an area in the middle where you have access to the bars. Because if you can't kill the birds, then they're just going to stay there. They're part of the horde, and they will show up eventually. So this way you can actually shoot them, kill them, get them out of the sky, but they can't get to you. And the stronger the bars, the better, because eventually you will get to where you have radiated vultures that like to vomit at you, and they can hurt the bars pretty bad. But from here, you can at least start shooting at them a lot easier while you're taking out the zombies. Now, as far as being able to keep supplies in here, you could always try and do, like some people do, is they may bust out the middle block right here, and then they just put like a chest in the very middle, and that way you can still walk over the top of it without accidentally falling in, or even put a hatch over the top of it, and have a crate in there for all your supplies, your extra ammo, first aid, food, water, whatever you might need to make it through the horde, but that way incoming projectiles from cops or birds, whatever, won't accidentally hit it. Something I'd like to do in some of my playthroughs is to use like a 2-tower system, and basically just 2 towers identical across from each other. I did this in my Lone Survivor series at the church, where I have a walking path going between the 2 sides. I can go up above these, shoot down below from here, and that way I've got a lot more access. Because the zombies are going to try and go wherever you're going. So if one tower just starts taking too much damage, or you need to be able to kind of move out a little bit more, you can move to a second tower, get back and forth over here, and get them to go between the 2 bases. Just adds to the durability. Of course, it takes a lot more resources to build 2 towers like this, but it is a fun way to be able to skirt them around. You can go 2 towers. I've seen people do 4 towers here, and they have them all linked together, and then they basically just have a courtyard in the middle of destruction, where they throw explosives, Molotovs, and things like that. So this is definitely one of the more popular build styles, is using the towers. This will last you until very late game stage without very many problems. As long as you keep it upgraded and repaired, you can run some very big hordes doing this. So this is probably the method I recommend the most, but we'll move on to the next one. The third style of base is called a corridor style base, and this is basically where you're getting all the zombies to go to a more of elevated position and to funnel into a central point heading directly towards you, so you can either set up an automated system that does all the damage for you, or you have a spot where you can sit and just take them out. Zombies are going to try and pathfind to you no matter what, as long as there's a way to get to you. The first thing they're going to try to do is to get onto the same level as you as far as elevation, and then they're going to try and get to you. So a very popular way to build is to have a tower here, which I'm just using the two that I already have a walking path to get to you, and then to have some sort of stairs. Some people will do all the way upstairs like this, where you can just walk up and down them. I like to personally use the individual blocks, and that's because when the zombie gets here, they pause for a second before they have to figure out they can't run any further. Then they jump, get to the next block, and then they run, realize they can't get up again, so they have to jump. So they pause long enough to jump to each one of the steps. Every time they pause, it just causes the horde grouping to kind of slow down a little bit and help you manage it. If you do just straight stairs all the way up, they will be able to just sprint all the way up to the top without slowing down. I would recommend doing at least a little bit of stairs or ramps on the very bottom, just because zombies are stupid and sometimes they'll come in from the side, and if they can't figure out how to get up to you from right here and the ramps are going down just one side, they'll just start beating on the side of the platform. So always make sure that there's not a way for the zombies to get stuck in their area of trying to get up to you. Now, when it comes to design the actual corridor portion in which the zombies are going to try and get to you, there's several different methods you can do. One thing I like to do is to use the bars and place them back to back. You can see there's two sets of bars here. What that does is that it will still show the zombies a path to be able to get to you, but they'll just run into the bars and do a tremendous amount of damage to those. And by having two layers of it, and I'll show what I mean, you can put one like this, jump over to the other side, rotate the bars around so they're facing the same directions. Now you have a double thick layer of bars. It'll have this block and this block worth that the zombies have to beat on. So you can have as many of those if you want to, and that way you can kind of just sit here, and as the zombies are coming towards you, just sit here and mow through the bars as they're coming along. That is a very popular one too. That way you're still doing all the damage, but the zombies are nice and pretty much stuck in a loop of trying to get through these bars the entire time. Another popular thing to do with the quarter style base is to have a bottleneck spot, some bars or a hatch or something there where they get stuck on and have to try and beat through, and then to use something like a sledge turret or an automated turret to shoot something at them. But basically, so it's doing all the work for you, and you don't have to try and handle anything. So what you can do is, what I have here is I just have some bars set up, and then I got a sledge turret. So as long as if I'm a certain distance away, it'll stay active, so I can handle all the zombies below while he can handle all the zombies running up. And I'll show you what I mean. Let's get a couple of our lovely assistants over here. We'll just get a chunk of those over there, fire so we can see what's going on. They'll run up, and we'll let Sledgy handle them. But you can see how they're having to stop at the steps and run up, and it just makes them have to go a little bit slower. Now, I would always recommend, if you're going to do the bar setup here, is that you use at least 3 highs, because sometimes they will accidentally stack up like they just did and bounce up over the top of them. But for the most part, having something, a basic level setup like this, it allows them to run up, they get hit, they get knocked off the side, give Sledgy something like the flaming mod, a weighted head mod, and he can do a whole lot more damage, so that when he does actually hit them and start shooting a little bit faster, it'll set them on fire, they'll do a lot of damage. They fall off the side, have to climb all the way back up here again, and he handles a lot of the load for you. So while he's doing his thing, you can sit over here and just shoot through the bars and have to save some ammo as he helps kind of thin the horde. That's a really great way to go about it too. Another popular thing to do with a corridor base is to make sort of like a fall trap base where they end up kind of stuck in a loop. One of the ways you can do that is by using things like a centered pole piece here. So when you rotate it around, you can see it only takes up 1/8 of a piece of a block here, but you can rotate it around so it makes a nice narrow bridge. And what's nice about those is you can also layer them in a point where they kind of float like this. You can stack them on top of each other, and you can see as you get ready to put it over here, it floats. Now, what's nice about that is that this narrow pathway right here, the zombies will still see this as a path they're trying to get to you, but it is quite small, and so you have a high likely chance of them falling off. Let's get a couple of our lovely assistants over here again. We'll let them run up and see what actually happens when you do this. And by having these bars here, they can't quite get to you, but what they can do is you can just sit here and just beat on them with a bat. And when you hit them just nicely with a bat, oftentimes what happens is they will take a nice little fall off the platform and then have to run all the way back around again. This is another one of those where it gives you a chance to do all the work because they're just going to keep falling off here. They keep piling up and they end up knocking each other off. And so it's not completely an idle base. You still have to do some of the work. But as the bigger zombies start showing up, you can definitely sit here and just kind of beat on them and watch them fall off. There are much better designs to it. This is just showing you the bare basic bones, how to go about doing this. There's ways to do this so they just completely fall off over and over again and basically have an AFK base. But for those people that just wanting a way to kind of not really exploit, but to control the pathing of the zombies, so you can do all the killing, but they just get stuck in a loop and you're not, stuck in one spot, basically, give you a chance to actually do some damage to them. This works out really, really well. And of course, you can always stand over to the side and, shoot them a little bit easier too. And like always, make sure you keep your nail gun or hammer with you to be able to repair the blocks as they go through and beat on them. But you can see, these corridor bases work pretty good. You get a nice big giant horde in here, and they start knocking each other off a lot more often, just like that. Because you're only going to be able to get so many to pile up at a time. And as long as they have a path to get to you, they're just going to keep running in a circle. So this is a really, really nice way to be able to control the horde while you still get all the kills and not have to have a ton of work. These are real simple base designs too. And again, this will work for really long term, but I would recommend, again, once you get to high stages where you have cops, radiated vultures, spiders, things like that, just being able to stand in an open area like this, you're going to get stuck very quickly with the zombies up on top of you or hitting you from a distance. So that's when you'll start building things like this, go around the side of it to kind of give you some extra protection as you're sitting here and just mowing them down. And even from this far away, they'll continue to go over there because they see that as the path to get to you. So you could do a really extended base like this and still be able to kind of stay nice and protected from the birds and the spiders and everything else, and have them still funneling in from a distance over here as you slowly take pot shots. So there you have it, the 3 basic base builds for beginners to handle Blood Moon Hordes in 7 Days to Die Alpha 20. You have your bunker style base, you have your tower style base, and you have your corridor style base. Again, all of these are the most basic, bare bones versions of these kinds of bases. You can take this concept and turn them into almost anything. You can combine them into one big, gigantic style base with all 3 of them kind of working in tandem with each other. This is just to kind of show you the basic level base building tips for people that are new to the game. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, do me a favor and leave a like on the video. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss out on future videos. And in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.